Welcome to the Anton Stetner podcast. Today we're talking about the great real estate collapse and why 80% of agents are quitting, which sounds so much like 2008 and 9. So what is going on with agents and why are they quitting?
I mean, it's just wild right now because the market, like you were saying, just like the great financial crisis, 2008 and 9, has changed so dramatically. So understand that for real estate agents in general, 80% are basically going to quit in the first few years. And then what we've been going through in 2025 is what started way back in 2022 is when the Federal Reserve just shot interest rates right to the moon. They went from 0 to 5.5. What that did was that caused real estate to go into a transaction-based recession. We are selling about half the homes nationally as we did, right there during COVID today. And we're selling at about the same level we did in 1995. So what's happening is there's just less deals, which means there's less money. And so you're seeing this wave of the quiet quitters, of agents disengaging who their soul and their body has left the building, but they haven't fully turned in their license. But it's showing up in the numbers. And most people see this as a bit of a catastrophe right now because the market's kind of frozen. You have high rates. We've got tariffs. We've got the economy where we've still got emotional distress hung over from COVID, blah, 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 blah. But this is when things like this happen. I want you to understand these types of consolidations, these movements, when people start leaving the industry, it actually creates massive opportunity. And this is probably going to create one of your best opportunities for the hungry agent, for the new person getting into the business that we've seen in the last decade. And I've been a broker here in the Seattle Metro for literally 22 years, sold thousands of homes here around the area. I got a large real estate team. I own 2 brokerages in my county that are in the top 10. I'm saying this to my real estate agents who are active in the business. We're going to talk about some strategies that you can do. I'm saying this to the new people who want to get in. We're also hardcore investors and land developers. We play all the games in real estate. And in this episode, I want to really break down what's happening. I want to show you the playing field so you can see exactly what's happening, who's in trouble, who's quiet quitting, and then kind of give you a playbook with some strategies to ensure that you can stick around and take advantage of the upside that I actually believe is starting within the next 6 months. But the pain is all happening right now.
So what are some of the statistics right now about real estate agents quitting?
Well, literally, I think we're in the quiet quitting epidemic. It's massively shocking in regards to agent burnout and turnover. So we talked about the 80%, of the people who start the exam, 50% never take the test. Of the people who take the test to get into the real estate business, another 50% don't make it the next 6 months. So what we're saying is about 80% don't make it the first 2 years. So if you can make it through your first couple years of real estate, you are officially a war-torn veteran. You get your little stripes and your patch. But then what happened is when the 30-year fixed debt went from 3% to 7%, so debt doubled for the consumer, our transactions just dried up, which means our commissions also went down, which means we had to work twice as hard for half the money. That's really what it means. A lot of agents don't know that. They're not willing to work that hard. They're not willing to dig in. When money was cheap and easy and free during the COVID era, Benji, what was happening?
All you had to have is a real estate email.
All you needed was a license and your friend would buy a house and debt was so cheap, everyone was doing it.
Just CC me when you're working with a transaction coordinator and I'll show up at signing.
Bingo. And so we had a bunch of agents that got into the industry that, and I'm just going to call it for what it is, they were lazy. They weren't trained properly and they weren't treating it as a business. What they were doing is they had a hobby and that their sphere of influence was blessing them with outside transactions that were above normal. And so they took advantage of the easy money, but they never learned the habits of the business. And they're not ready now for deals falling through. for financial stress, for the emotional armor that you need to survive when people are running on raw emotions and everything's just harder.
So one thing though I think about is we have record high prices when it comes to home sales.
Yeah.
Shouldn't commissions be pretty high though?
That's a really good one. We call it the gift of volume. And if on a national level, you look back from COVID to today, the national home price is up literally almost 50% in a 5-year run. So that means commissions are up. But what also happened? We also had the NAR settlement. We had commissions come under scrutiny. And we also have half the number of transactions. So even though homes are priced higher, we had a bunch of agents enter the business. Not as many have quit yet. So the available deals per agent has gone down. And so the number of commissions have gone down. I read a stat that said in 2024, 72% of real estate agents did 0 transactions. 0. That's a horrific number. That means if they don't have a side job, they're basically, they're on the beans and rice train. Or hopefully their significant other was full-time employed during that process. It also means they didn't learn the fundamentals of the business. They didn't plug into the business. They were simply relying on the business to come to them. This quiet quitting, what it is it's this emotional disengagement. I will tell you with our clients right now, you have to have more care and candor than we did in the past. I care about you. I care about your situation, but I want to be very candid about what's happening, where we're at, and what you need to do to buy a home, sell a home, or invest in real estate. When agents had the easy money, the free money, and things were moving faster, they didn't have to have these uncomfortable dialogues. They didn't have to go through the emotional distress with the buyer or the seller and ride the waves up and down, because it was make a decision now, make one fast, we got to go because there's 20 offers right there and everything's just moving really fast. Now the market has slowed down. You're back to being the fundamentals. You're back to being the grief counselor. You're back to being, Dr. Phil. You're back to holding their hand. You're back to consulting, asking good questions, educating them about the transaction, lowering the fear of what's happening. And there's agents right now, they're like, I'm taking a breather. I'm just sitting on the sidelines. No, you actually quit. You just haven't admitted it yet. And then what you're seeing is MLS dues, more of them go delinquent. You're seeing office bills, more of them go delinquent. You're seeing less people renew to the National Association of Realtors. So I want to say that over half of the industry right now has quiet quit and is actively disengaged. So let's say then that there are 600,000 active people. And out of those 600,000 active people across the United States, I'm going to tell you 120,000 of them are doing the vast majority of the business right now. They're having a phenomenal business because they're taking advantage of some of these strategies we're going to talk about later. Agents weren't ready for this mindset shift, for this cultural shift that happened when we went from cheap, easy money to, oh my goodness, this is massively hard work again, and we've got to get back into the hustle culture. And it's not just the new agents. You've seen veteran agents, Benji, all of a sudden, I'm getting out of the business. You've seen them retire early, and you're seeing them pull back and maybe only do a deal here and there with their SOI. So it's not just the new ones, it's also the veterans. The industry right now is massively weeding people out, not as bad as mortgage. Mortgage lost 70% of their industry, but we're probably going to go in half if this continues. There's kind of this like three-headed monster that we're fighting against. We've got what we're going to call the golden handcuffs. We've got the commission apocalypse and the ghost of transactions past. So the golden handcuffs, that's the lock-in effect. That's where, 80% of the mortgages in the United States are below 4%, and that seller cannot afford to be a buyer in today's market, so that resale market's not entering it. That is probably 40% of the transactions that we're missing right now because financially they can't afford to go from a 3 to a 7%. The commission apocalypse is that commissions have come down because of the NAR settlement, and agents now have to be able to articulate their value at a higher level. I will tell you, for people like us, our commissions have gone up because we are the war-torn veterans. We've been in the industry a long time, and we know and we can articulate our value. For our agents that are listening, for our subscribers that are usually along with us, I want you to think about how you can articulate your value, your niche, like how you're different than the average person. And the last head of this beast, the ghost of the transactions past, is that right now we're selling 50% of the homes. So we're at historically low sales volume. On a national level, we're selling the same amount of homes we did in 1995 with a massive lock-in effect, with a massive affordability problem. We're at the second least affordable time in U.S. history today. So this creates this hyper-competitive Shark Tank, Piranha Tank feeling for the home buyer who's trying to purchase a home because they're in an ultra-competitive market with massively low inventory. Not to mention that we're 3 to 4 years behind on actual new construction housing. So connecting these dots, what this does is this forces agents into kind of this daily grind where we've got locked up inventory, lower earnings, less available deals, and more complex transactions. In other words, you're working twice as hard for half the money like we're stated before.
So obviously, just like 2008, there was an opportunity with REOs, bank-owned properties, foreclosures. I would say even flipping houses or helping distressed sellers short sell their houses. So if you made that shift, you actually did really well in an environment that was very difficult. So what is the opportunity right now? What should agents be doing?
So the opportunities is that every fire that burns allows the new forest to grow. The trees get stronger. They grow to the new light. So we've got this algebra of opportunity. When an agent pool is shrinking, you have massive advantage. Let me explain. It's basic math. The 10-year treasury looks like it's topping out right now today. And as the 10-year treasury starts to trend down, we will slowly start to sell more homes. But what happens is the agents entering the business and leaving the business lags that factor. So as the business starts to rise, as rates come down, their agents will still be getting out of the business, which creates more available transactions per agent. I was asked by a broker just a few weeks ago, when was the best time in my career to be a real estate agent? And I said, you would think it was 2003, 4, and 5, but you would be wrong. Now, that was in the ninja, no income, no job, just lie and get your loan era. But the actual easiest time was at the end of the great financial crisis.
9, 10, 11.
It was really like 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, and 15. Because what happened was agents were still getting out of the business, and it was very slow. But the amount of available sides per agent started rising. And in my hubris, I was like, you're so good at your job. I'm so proud of you. But what was happening was my business was naturally massively rising because the market was giving me the gift of volume and the gift of available sides per agent. I will tell you that gift is coming sometime in the next 6 to 24 months again. You'll see this happening with the 10-year treasury.
You also were just positioned correctly for what was actually happening at the time.
Yes.
I mean, it's funny. I remember you, and what were you and your team doing that probably most other people wouldn't do because it pays nothing? BPOs.
Yeah.
So, like, I feel like that's probably not addressed enough by what you're saying, and just in general. I mean, the clearest example of this is cold calling. When you're an agent, that's kind of the name of the game. And most agents don't want to do it because it's too hard. They don't want to hear no from people. And if you're not familiar with what that is, that's where you literally pick up the phone, call Craigslist ads or phone number lists, and talk to strangers and basically ask for their business. How you do it will make it either better or worse. Yeah. But BPOs, broker price opinions is where you literally do the research that agents should be doing anyways,
Yep.
but do it in a way that is good for the bank, and then get paid like, what, $50
Yeah,
each?
35 to $50.
Okay, which is, it seems like nothing, but how long does a BPO take back in the day?
Back in the day, so we were running automation software to help with this. So the quickest you could get one done was, and this didn't include the picture, so I'm talking the actual just typing, was 45 minutes, hour and 15 minutes.
Well, just to say hour on average, right?
Yeah.
So let's just call it $35 an hour. That's
Well,
not.
But that doesn't include driving to the property to get the pictures.
Oh my gosh.
So it's more like a 2 to 3 hour minimum.
Totally. So
Total.
You could call it like, okay, then it's really bad, but it's still $15 an hour, probably minimum wage.
Yep.
An agent that was doing 7 figures doesn't want to do it, but you, funny enough, were doing that along with your team, and that was planting the seeds for what came, like you said, in 11, 12, 13, 14.
It's what you're hitting on is what I think a lot of people don't realize. As a market transitions, due to whatever, due to catastrophe, black swan, interest rates, whatever, the cheese moves. How you do business moves. You have to mold with the market. You have to change with the market. So we changed our business and we skated to where the puck was going. In 2007, the builders and developers I was working for all started going out of business. We started working with local banks doing builder-developer bailouts in 2008. And as we were doing that, as new construction was falling apart, we realized that we had to start doing broker price opinions to get in front of the tsunami of foreclosures that was coming, because we could see it, the writing on the wall with what we were doing in new construction. What I think has happened over the last 5 years, though, Benji, is a lot of agents thought the business would always be the way it was, and they didn't skate to where the puck was going, and they didn't change their business. They weren't willing to change their methodology of doing it. They weren't willing to go and eat the humble pie and do the BPOs. I mean, the thing people don't realize is that then got me 144 active listings at one point. And we literally had another 100 in the pipeline because we turned it into a sweatshop, and we ran a greater than 6-figure BPO business in 2009. It was insane. And we just knew if we put the work in, the results would show up. What I'm trying to tell people today is the market has changed, and you got to put the work in a different manner.
So what's the BPO of today? And what's the BPO of 2025 that agents, both brand new and ones that are about to quit, that are veterans, should be doing to get to where the puck is going to go?
I think the BPO of 2025, and quite honestly for the next decade, is something that you and I talk about on this podcast on a regular basis with our listeners, and that is new construction. Because we are 4 years behind on new construction nationally. We're probably maybe a little worse than that here in the Seattle metro. And anything that is land, that is creating new housing starts in single family, townhomes. And so I'm not talking luxury or anything like that. I'm talking around the median price and below and starter homes. And then in the ADU and DADU space, the accessory dwelling unit and the detached accessory dwelling unit space, I believe that is your biggest opportunity over the next 10 years. That's where the puck is going. So here in the Seattle metro, what we've seen is that our legislature has passed laws saying that every property has to allow 2 DADUs inside of the urban zones or inside of the UGA. Why did that happen? Because we're in such a housing crisis. So then what's the opportunity? Go to where the crisis is. Start working on that today. Master that today. And then as an agent, what can happen is just like what's happening for Elias on our team. Elias was door knocking. He bought us a property in Everett. Elias made a commission to buy that property. We flipped the property in the front. The property in the front is pending today. So he got paid 1 commission. He got a 2nd commission for the house we rehabbed. And guess what happens next week? The dadu we put in the backyard goes on the market. He's getting paid 3 times off of 1 piece of work. That's the opportunity.
That was new construction.
And that's new construction. New construction, a little bit of land development. Coming back to this other opportunity is with this idea of 7% interest rates. This is killing the part-time agent. Okay. The part-time agent doesn't exist in 2025, and they shouldn't exist. And I don't want them to ever exist in my industry. Okay. Even though I own brokerages, if you're not full-time and you're not committed, go away. Okay. I want the committed, the people who are going to go to the education, who are going to get the coaching, who are going to create a business and create opportunity for their people inside of their business, their team members and their family, and then buy some real estate for the future. I think brokerages are also panicking a little bit. The brokerage model is breaking today. Where's the brokerage model going? I don't know, but I know things are changing because there's pressure on commissions. There's less commission volume happening, and there's less productivity inside of agents. So the commission model is breaking. That's also creating opportunity.
So what is the top agents right now in the industry doing? You did mention, new construction, but what are they doing kind of on a daily basis? What are the actions? What is the actual BPO? Does that make sense?
Yeah. So if you want to be in that top 20%, right? And honestly, this has probably put you in the top 5%. You're not going to do it by working harder. You're going to do it by working smarter. So I've created this kind of little strategy playbook for you guys to go through so you can take massive opportunity and massive market share. I think strategy number one is I want you to become the oracle of value. This is being able to articulate your worth, articulate how you can help people solve a problem, and being very specific. So when the seller asks, why should I pay you 3%? You need an answer to that question. When the buyer says, why should I pay you 3.5%? Which sounds above average. Well, these are the things that we do that are above average. And you need to be able to say those things in 30 seconds. You need to be able to articulate them very clearly. So one, demonstrate value. Strategy two, you're going to have to master our new digital ecosystem. This doesn't mean just, using Top Producer as your old CRM. I'm talking mastering the new CRM. I'm talking automated triggers, automated finding of leads, lead generation that happens while you sleep, using AI tools in social media, in writing scripts, in ad copy, making that a part of your everyday movement, and then stop doing everything. I want you to be asking in this digital ecosystem, what can I automate today? What can I spend a half an hour on today that's going to save me 5 minutes a day for the rest of the year? We have to start automating more. There's so much that's just paper file in real estate. You've got to get on this train. You've got to be using, Google Docs and DocuSign and Dropbox and just having things auto push to locations and auto file without requiring so much manual labor. You've got to create a unscalable advantage. And what I'm saying about this one, this strategy number 3 here is, what are things that technology can't replicate? Benji, with this explosion that we're having in AI, do we need as many agents? No. Therefore, you're going to have to do things that technology can't do in order to be the agent of the future. And what I'm talking about, what can it not do? It cannot replicate human connection, that massive human connection. It can't send a handwritten thank you note. It can't host a local community event. It can't remember kids' birthdays, clients' birthdays, graduations. In the world of automation, where everything just feels and tastes like garbage, I'm talking authentic, real stuff, misspellings, okay, stuttering, saying being a human, IRL, in real life, getting face to face for coffee, okay? These are unscalable things that AI can't take away from you, and they can't take away from you in business. Number 4, you got to diversify or die. If you're slowly relying on your SOI, you're dead. You're just dead in the water. We're both sitting in chairs right now. The average chair has how many legs?
4.
4. So an agent needs to look at their business. And if greater than 25% of their business is coming from their SOI, I'm sorry, you're being lazy. I said it. Deal with it. Because that's not scalable. 25% from SOI, 25% from pick something else, social media, new construction, open houses, newsletters, whatever it may be, cold calling. You need different legs to the stool so you're properly supported. What happens is an agent business gets very top heavy in one specific area, and generally speaking, it's SOI. It's not scalable and replicatable, because if the economy slows down and it's only SOI, what do you do? If interest rates are 7% and it's only SOI, what do you do?
You're staying where the puck is at, not going to where it's going.
This goes back to the broker price opinion thing that you brought up. Where is the puck going? It's going in new construction. It's going into new revenue streams. How do you prevent yourself from being sunk during a downturn? Okay, by having multiple legs to the stool. So strategy 5, what's actually working? I've had the opportunity to host 2 masterminds in the last 30 days. And what's working for people today, these are real tactics that are working for people today, is yes, the SOI still works, but consistently communicating with them. I will tell agents, most of you are not consistent enough. You need to set up a certain number of calls, a certain number of text messages, a certain number of handwritten notes, a certain number of newsletters, and a certain number of DMs, and a certain number of face-to-face IRL, in real life, at the coffee shop, appointments with these people. And in ideal world, that is about 60 touches a year, so a little more than 1 a week. But notice how not all of those are personal, and some are absolutely personal. Open houses are working really well. Over the last 2 weekends, we had phenomenal showings from our open house. There's a woman here in the Seattle Metro. She only does open houses. She's 2 years in the business. Her business absolutely destroying it. I think she's on track to close around 20 million this year because she's consistently doing an open house. Social media. Social media is the new cold calling. Sorry, you got to post 3 to 5 times a day to your story. You need to post once or twice to the actual feed, and you needed to do it on more than one platform. Now, dominate one first. Go check out everything that Benji does and watch what they do. Read their book, YouTube Secrets. But you have to become a part of social media. I was talking with my kids, and I asked my kids, like, hey, did you text your friend? And my son goes, well, no, I didn't text him. I was like, well, did you call him? He goes, no. Well, what'd you do? Well, I sent him a message. Well, how'd you send him a message? Well, I sent him on Xbox. What? And all of a sudden I have this epiphany. This is a couple of years ago. Grab all my kids, set them around the table, ask them what this is. I'm like, what's this? And my kids politely tell me that I was raised by boomers, that this is a telephone to me, but this to them is their own personal device and not a phone. And then I realized I'm never going to be able to cold call that generation. I'm most likely never going to be able to text them. We have to be involved with social media so we can start getting the younger crowd.
The easiest thing any agent can do to make posts that literally they can do daily is, by the way, if you're not getting a question a day from someone interested in real estate, you're not a real estate professional, okay? You probably have at least 1 to 10 questions a day. Pick the one that you feel like is the easiest for you to answer and make a video about it. You literally go, okay, so today my client asked me this question and this is what I told them. And literally just say, you don't even have to say this is what I told them. Just say, so like, give me a question. Just give me a random question that's real estate related that you think I could answer. Go ahead.
Oh, here was one yesterday. How do we negotiate the best off of the price?
Got it. Okay, so I don't even know how to do that for that, but I would say something like, so somebody asked me, how do I negotiate the best price for a house that they're looking for? This is exactly what I do.
Blah, 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 blah. Exactly.
And you think that it's not scripted, it needs to be produced, whatever. No, it doesn't. Because how do people consume social media right now? They're not even thinking about it.
Bingo.
They're swiping through. And the name of the game isn't to make the perfect post that someone's going to look and think, I need to watch that, or that they're going to search for, right? And be like, oh, that's the one for me. No, think TikTok, think swiping through. You want to get the volume game. This is why it's better to do one a day for 365 days than 10 amazing YouTube videos like in the beginning of the year and then doing nothing else. One out of those 30 in a month is going to hit somebody, because if you aren't on social media, you don't exist to them.
Bingo.
So it's better to exist as crappy social media posts than like the one perfect video that you're never going to make.
Amen. 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 Newsletters. We're like going back to the old school. And now this is also what's really working. The reason the newsletter is working is when it's written authentically. In the age of AI, taste and your opinion becomes important. Being the local economist, being the neighborhood expert, the deal maker, the off-market person, and then the niches. There's always riches in the niches. Now, strategy number 6, fewer agents equals more market share for the pros that remain. So as the number of agents goes down, you will get more market share as rates drop. All you have to do is go grab market share and you get to ride a natural wave up. Strategy number 7, the new playbook, the hyper-local data mastery, tech adoption, and niche domination. Oh my goodness, what is that? Here's what I mean. If you are a real estate professional in Kirkland, you know about all the new construction that's happening in Kirkland. You know about the waterfront homes. You know about the townhomes. So you can articulate, and on your socials, like you were just saying, Benji, you're talking about these different niches, the data and what's happening, and then you're using automation and tech to help dominate that niche. We have to start automating more of what we do, building more workflows for what is happening. And then the last strategy here is you got to build a brand and specialize, become the trusted fiduciary and consultant. And when I say build a brand, like, who are you? What makes you different as a real estate agent than the other one down the street? And then because our consumers here in the US have so much money, they don't care what brokerage you work for. They actually care where you eat food. They care what you do for fun. They care about your opinion. People want to do business with people they like that are like them. So you got to bring in some of these personal elements, some of these thought elements, and some of what you are doing so you can build a big business. You're going to then, with these strategies, I want you to shift your mindset from transaction to relationship. A lot of what happened during the low interest rate is we became very transactional, very depersonalized. Real estate's a relationship business. Get back to the relationships. Focus on the business, play the long-term game, build a business, build a scalable business, and then you can't lose, and skate to where the puck is going. As things are changing, change with the market. So right now, our industry is definitely on fire. It hurts. The boat is taking on water.
On fire in the wrong way.
On fire in the wrong way. And most agents are going to literally sit there. They're going to watch it burn. They're going to blame the market. They're going to think about getting a safe job and leaving the industry, and they're going to wonder what went wrong. They're not implementing these strategies. They're not plugging in. They're not getting educated. They're not getting coaching. And what I want you to see is, instead of a fire, I want you to see this as like a forge. It's an opportunity, because it's getting rid of the debris, the dead weight, and this chaos filters a lot of things out. So you need to be serious. You need to plug in. You got to treat this like a business. You got to start playing offense while everyone else is playing defense. Skate to where the puck is going. Thank you for watching. If this gave you value, hit that subscribe button. Share this with a friend that may be struggling today, and they need to think about these strategies, and share this with a new agent getting into the business so they can kill it in 2025.